Asa here at Guitar Auctions with Luke Hobbs. Going to have a quick interview with him and chat about how everything operates here. But before that, we're going to have a look at some tasty guitars down here just before we segue into that.
Sounds good.
So on Tuesday the 9th then, Luke, what we're starting with, do you reckon?
So loads of guitars as we always do, but picking out some good vintage pieces, I think, is what most people get excited about.
Yeah.
Because of rarity. So this is just one example. So we do have a few early Strats in the cell. We've got some that are original, some that are not so original, and sort of in that player's grade category. Whether they're refinished or replaced parts, but this is essentially as original as you'll get.
Sure. And what's the year of this again?
So this is 65.
Brilliant.
So it's kind of transitional in the fact that it's got I pick it up and just show. So it's got a replacement, not replacement. It's got a transitional logo. So basically, the logo goes from the spaghetti logo to the bigger logo, and this year, so it's all sort of to do with the CBS takeover. But what's quite nice is you've still got some early features, like you've got the green guard.
Sure.
So eventually it goes to the white guard. You still got clay dots, whereas they change to white dots. You've got Brazilian board, which, you know, some people prefer a Brazilian board. I mean, it does look a bit nicer. Whether it makes any difference tonally wise, who knows? But
who knows?
So you went from Indian rosewood basically in 66. But yeah, essentially the guitar is all original. I think if you look at the finish wear,
that's had some love, hasn't it?
It's had some love.
And where's this come from? Where's this guitar come from?
It's come from a private individual who he actually used to own a music store, and he sort of went throughout his days of looking at guitars and investigating guitars and learning about these old instruments. I think he basically went through trying to acquire a Strat of every year.
See.
So he doesn't have all of them left now, but this is one of the ones that he's still remaining. But he owned a music shop up until the mid 2000s, so around 2015, I think he shut down. He's retired now.
Interesting. I wanted to get one from every year.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so this is his 65.
Wow. So is this pre-CBS or?
So this is basically within transition. So this is around the time it was all happening. Because, you know, you get major changes as you go later into the 60s. I mean, one thing with the logo, the reason the logo got bigger is because CBS wanted the brand to be more in your face on TV and advertising.
Yes.
So this is why you end up with the big,
curvy,
and the big headstock to hold the big name.
Interesting.
So it's all about brand awareness.
Yeah, because when you see some of the advertisements they have from back in the day, where there's the guy like surfing, and it's you know, he doesn't take it anywhere, he doesn't leave it anywhere. You know, and you see the big logo, and
so you need the big logo.
Brilliant.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, so it's an early 65, so it does have desirable features. It's actually, the pots are actually dated first week of 1965.
Oh, okay.
January 65 neck stamp as well. So it's as early as you can get in 65, which is nice.
Wow.
And for me, so with neck profiles, obviously in the 50s we have V profiles. They get chunkier as we go into the early 60s. And then they kind of go through this phase of like thinning out a bit again.
Okay.
But in 64 particularly, they got a bit thicker again. It's the same with Gibson. So my favourite neck profile for both Gibson and Fender is 64.
Okay.
Because they chunk out of it, but they're not too chunky like the really early 50s ones.
Interesting, yes.
So, but the only, apart from the replacement nut, the only other thing that happened is the neck was slightly sanded down to give a more satin playing feel.
Interesting.
Which is, I mean, a load of grime on there now.
Yeah.
But if you if you feel the neck, it's quite it's a nice profile. It's really comfortable. Most people can get on with it. But
because it's sometimes this is for me personally, sometimes when necks feel a bit too thin, it feels a bit, you know, too thin, but this is nice in the hand.
Yeah, it's nice.
Has this already garnered a lot of interest already from people? Would people just call you, or
I mean, we
tell me more?
It's not published yet, so I don't even think we've put it on any of our channels. I mean, it's it will soon be on one of our YouTube videos.
Yeah. Brilliant.
But it's it will be desirable. I mean, we got, I think the last 65 we sold we got 16,000 for.
Wow.
Which is it was in slightly better condition. I mean, it was near mint, the one we sold, to be honest with you. But you know, I'd still expect that to make maybe 12 to 15,000.
Yeah, yeah. Would this be the sort of thing that two people could fight over, essentially? Or
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
when you're in that heat of the moment kind of thing, is it quite exciting for you? Like, oh,
yeah. I mean, obviously being the auctioneer on the stand, I mean, it's almost the next best thing to being I guess it's my gig in some ways, because I don't gig that much these days. So, you know, being the auctioneer, and it does give you that buzz, especially things like this when there's some guitars where we know the value. You know, we know at auction a Les Paul standard's going to make 1,200-1,300 quid. So you open it up at £1,000, you get a couple of bids and you're done.
Yes.
Whereas something like this, and even more so with something else we'll look at in a minute, but with something like this, at least you've got you might have 20 or so bids, and you don't quite know where it's going to land, because it depends on how much 2 or 3, 4 people want it.
Yes.
Whether that's in the room, whether that's online. So yeah, it can be really exciting.
I bet,
of course, for those watching in the room or online as well.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Right, let's switch over to another one then, man.
Nice.
That's fantastic. Lovely. So, what we got in this one, Luke? One I picked out.
Yeah, so this is a rare guitar anyway. It's a Tony Zemaitis guitar, which most people know who Tony Zemaitis is, but for those who don't, he was a luthier based. He's based London way, but it was more sort of over the other side of London. Yeah, he made a lot of guitars for Stars. You know, he had a lot of engraved metal front guitars and things like that. And he also made these acoustic guitars with heart holes or D holes.
Yeah, because I'm less familiar with these. Like when I first saw it, I was like, I'm not familiar. It's more like a gypsy jazz kind of.
That's exactly it. So you know, he went with those stylings. In terms of sort of the desirability, it's definitely his metal front guitars that are solid bodies that people want. I mean, a lot of famous artists use them on stage. I mean, you know, Ronnie Wood still uses one, but you know, if you were a famous artist in the 70s, you
needed the metal.
You had a guitar from Anthony Zemaitis. So we actually sold the remainder of Anthony Zemaitis' workshop a few years ago, which is quite nice. So I got to know the son and met Tony's wife, because he died in 2002, I think it was.
I see.
But yeah, so he made acoustics as well. I guess one of the most famous acoustics is Eric Clapton's big 12-string that was called Ivan the Terrible. And that made quite a lot of money in Christie's auction in Eric Clapton's sale. But yeah, this one's got a really interesting story. So this is a 1970 Zemaitis. It's a superior model, which means it's got higher end appointments. So you've got, for example, you've got a Brazilian rosewood back and sides, whereas you wouldn't always get Brazilian rosewood. You'd get, you know, mahogany in the student models, or Indian rosewood. This would have actually had a big guard on it as well here, which has been since removed. This has been refinished. It's had a few repairs to the Brazilian rosewood, which gets quite brittle, especially on acoustics.
Right, I see.
But you can see some of the Danny O'Brien engraving work. So you've got the engraving on the head there, Zemaitis.
Brilliant.
So the student models wouldn't necessarily get this.
This is special treatment.
So this is like special treatment. But this is the chap's name. So it's a guy called John Langdon.
Wow. And
John Langdon is actually a he was involved with comedy writing. He used to do a lot of work with Rory Bremner, the impressionist, and he did some work with the BBC. But he was also in a duo called Bibbs and Vanya, which was like a Russian duo. Bibbs Eckel was the balalaika player, and John Langdon, who went under the name of Vanya, was the guitarist. So this guitar you can see on all the vinyl records on the sleeves. This is that guitar.
Well documented.
But the story goes that Peter Green wanted an acoustic from Tony Zemaitis, and allegedly 2 were made, and he was given the option. So Tony was making 2, and he's like, right, these can be for Peter. Made 2 of them, and he basically went with the other one.
Right, interesting.
And so, in terms of provenance, because people always say, "Well, how can you prove this?" Well, we can't categorically prove it, but there is documentation out there. So John had always recounted this story. This is what he was told by Tony Zemaitis. He told his family, told his friends, this, that, and the other. But the interesting thing is, Keith Smart, who's the chairman of the Zemaitis Owners Club, he informed me and the family who are selling this that Tony had handwritten an article for the Z Gazette, which is a regular thing that Zemaitis Owners Club would receive, had written an article stating that he had made 2 guitars for Peter Green. He only ended up going with one of them.
Yeah.
So the story that John had been telling came out well before this article was known.
Yeah.
Which is why we think that the story's, it's true.
Yeah.
Because how would he know that otherwise?
Sure. And what year do you reckon this was that the guitars were built for Peter Green, where he would have?
Well, this was 1970. Yeah. So
70.
yeah, I mean it's on there on the label,
So
1970.
that would be after Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
Start of like.
Yeah.
What was it? First solo album, wasn't it?
It would have been around then. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Post Fleetwood Mac, early Peter Green solo. Yeah.
And then with the other guitar, this 2 of 2 was that ever? Does anyone know if that was?
No.
What happened with that? If Peter had it, or?
Yeah, I mean, I know. Obviously, Peter had one. I don't know whether it was sold through the years, whether the history's been lost.
Yeah.
Whether it remains in the estate still. I mean, I know Bonham's had a sale, which will, I guess, segue onto our next guitar quite nicely. But Bonham's had a sale where they offered some of Peter Green's guitars.
Yeah.
I don't recall seeing a Zemaitis in that sale. Maybe I'm wrong.
Sure.
But it'll be somewhere.
Yeah, because that's when I first got turned on to your channel, because I saw the G&L guitars that Peter Green would have had.
Yes, the yellow one. Yeah.
Yeah, the yellow one. So with things like that, how would something of like that slip through the Bonham's auctions, or did that get put through?
So it was put through. So that G&L that was sold through Bonham's. It was sold within the Peter Green Man of the World collection. But obviously we've got a lot of contacts. I've been doing this nearly 18 years now.
Right.
So we've got a lot of contacts that follow our sales, and so there was a guy that bought that that guitar, and he'd also offered a Gary Moore owned guitar in the same auction, but he bought them both through Bonham's because they did a Gary Moore sale as well. But he likes what we do, and as a house, for one reason or other, we're his preference.
Yeah.
So he placed them through us, and he got more money for them, which is always
Fantastic.
a bonus.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not saying necessarily that right or wrong, you're going through one auction house or the other, but because we are guitar focused, and we're reaching that core audience, there might be something in that. But I mean, Peter Green is an artist that a lot of us know and love. I loved his early work with Fleetwood Mac. I love some of his solo work. I can't say I was an avid follower. Yeah. But I certainly am a fan of what he did, and his influence on music in general.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not. We can't categorically say that it's not a Peter Green owned guitar, but he played it.
Yeah, it's a Peter Green felt guitar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
brilliant, man.
Might still have his DNA on there somewhere.
Definitely.
So this is a guitar that was owned by Peter Green.
Okay.
So it's a much cheaper guitar.
Wow.
It's a Squire, of all things.
Okay.
I don't know how much you know about Squire guitars in particular, but they did a series called the Protone series.
Yep.
I mean, if you just feel the weight of that, they're notoriously heavy.
Oh, wow. So as soon as straight out of the box, I thought that logo looks slightly different to what I used to with a Squire. That's heavy.
Yeah, heavy.
Wow.
A lot of the Protone series were heavy, but they're great guitars.
Yeah.
They're a really sought after series. Obviously, you've got the Keith Richards humbucker in the.
I was just about to ask about this. Do you reckon this would have been added later? Do you reckon?
No, so that was a spec they did.
Okay.
So I guess it's like almost a fat fat Telecaster having that.
Yep. It's a three-way, is it?
Humbucker.
Yep.
Yeah, freeway. So this was, let me just check out the serial number, because it's 98, I think it is.
That's 98.
Yeah, 1998. Made it. So these were made in Korea as well, whereas Squire were made initially in Japan. Production goes out to Korea, goes out to China. I mean, China and Indonesia, the classic Vibe ones are made now, but around this time, Korean factory. Korean factory is very, very good. But this guitar was one that did go through the Bonhams auction. So the chap who bought it, big fan of Peter Green, who happened to be after a Telecaster, so he bought that. But he's a good contact of ours, and he's had it for a few years. It was a couple of years ago the sale was now, and now he's moving on to other things. I think he used it to record his album, and now it's with us. I think in the Bonhams sale it made 700 or 800 hammer,
right?
But the guitar itself is worth about 200.
Yes.
So it shows you what the provenance can do to value.
Got you. So if this is around 98, you say it was manufactured. Is there any dates or proof of when Peter Green would have purchased this or used it?
We don't know, to be honest. I mean, there was nothing in the original brochure. It was just in his collection. It was sold directly on behalf of the estate, so definitely it's 100% confirmed with the serial number.
Yes.
And a picture in the catalogue. Grain matching and things like that.
Yeah.
That's another thing you can do. Obviously, a lot of these guitars, that it's like fingerprints.
Yes.
So artist-owned guitars, you can ascertain because of the grain, and you can say, right, well, that is definitely that guitar. You can't fake that.
Yes, because with something like this, if it's not been, let's say, seen on stage, for me at least makes me wonder what he would have used it for. Maybe if he just messed about with it on the settee, actually recorded something, who knows?
Well, that's it.
Yeah, there is a video somewhere I've seen where he's going through some guitars and he's not too sure of what he's got, and he's just kind of showing them. And it'd be interesting to see where something like this would have fitted in the mix of everything.
But if you have a look at that catalogue, I mean, I guess the swankiest guitars he has was there's a Fender custom shop, green Fender custom shop. There was his there's one of his old National Duolium resonators, I think. But apart from that, it was all guitars like this.
Sure.
So a proper guitar player playing with workhorse guitars in some ways. I mean, my guitars, none of them are flash or expensive. They're all relatively affordable things that I can use day to day. And I'm not personally one for collecting guitars or necessarily collecting vintage guitars.
Sure.
I mean, it's just I sell a lot of them.
Yeah,
I enjoy doing that. And I guess that scratches my itch. But
definitely, man. It's like with my thing, it's always it's not what you use, it's how you use it a lot of the time. I've played some £50 Encore guitars that are just exceptional, and they just are because they are.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's fantastic, man. That's a wonderful guitar. Right, this seems like it's going to be quite a special one, Luke.
Yeah, so this is going to be, unless we get a burst in, or we get another artist that is a bigger name, then this is probably going to be the star of the show.
Okay.
Now, we probably can't get much bigger than Jimmy Page.
Yep.
So I'm a big Led Zeppelin fan. I don't know about yourself.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yes. Wow.
So I mean, this is a collectible guitar in its own right. It's a 1957 Gretsch Chet Atkins 6120.
Beautiful.
In nice original condition. I mean, one thing that's quite striking when you open the case is the deep orange, because they do fade quite a lot.
Yeah.
And most of the ones you'll see will be quite washed out.
That's why I was surprised at straight away.
But this has been in the case a lot of its life. Now, Jimmy Page owned this guitar, and it's got an interesting story behind it. So I'm just gonna, if you want to hold it or put it back in the case, whichever you prefer.
I'll be very careful with this. Wow.
So on the front cover of this NME paper, we have, so this is dated 12th of October 1974, and Win Jimmy Page's own guitar. And there he is in his cricket whites, holding it like a cricket bat.
Brilliant! Wow.
Inside here there's an article, double page spread article, where Jimmy talks about his guitar collection, and he talks about this guitar. He's asked, what can you tell us about the guitar that you're donating to give away? And he basically says that he bought it for £200 from a US dealer. He was after something. He was after a Eddie Cochran type guitar, and this is it.
This is what you'd want. This is
what you'd want.
Wow. And what year is this article from?
So this is from 1974.
Okay.
So there was a competition in here where you had to match guitarists to pictures and do like a cryptic puzzle thing.
Okay.
And basically the chap who won was a guy called Charles Reed.
Yep.
And we've got Another Enemy, which came out later, where Charles has stood with Jimmy Page holding the guitar.
Wow.
And absolutely delighted to win it. He won a load of orange amplification gear as well, as a photo of him with the orange amplification gear. And he, so Charles Reed won this guitar in 1974. Then in 1990, he sold it to another chap called Mr. O'Donoghue for £2,000, which was still a lot of money in the early 90s. And that's where the provenance gets proven, because we have a handwritten letter saying ex Jimmy Page guitar, serial number, obviously Charles's name with a picture in there, headed paper, Charles Reed. And yeah, then it was Mr. O'Donoghue's had it since 1990 and passed away earlier this year and inherited by his brothers, who are now selling it through us.
Yeah.
So Jimmy Page guitars don't come up onto the market that often.
No.
In fact, I can only find 3 that have come onto the open market in the last 15 years. One was a modern acoustic guitar that was played by him in some concert that sold for about 25,000.
Okay.
And there was a guitar that had links to Bonham as well as Jimmy Page that came up for sale through a dealer last year. And there was one other Strat I could find that Jimmy Page played once in some concert and in an American auction house. Yeah. So this is a really rare opportunity to acquire one. I mean, we've got a pre-sale guide of 30 to 50,000 on that.
Wow.
So don't drop it.
Do not worry at all. It's glued to my hands. Seems like quite a personal guitar then, if it was picked from his collection. Do you reckon it would have been quite a personal thing?
What's interesting in the article, so I mean, Jimmy Page has got a big guitar collection now. I don't know that. I don't know Jimmy Page. I've never spoken to him, never had the privilege. Yeah, well, you never know. Yeah,
come on down, Jimmy. Come on down.
Yeah, just don't come down and deny it being your guitar. But
I ain't mine.
Yeah. So in the article where he's talking about his guitars, he seems to indicate that he doesn't have many guitars at the time. So this is 1974. Okay. I mean, I guess this was sort of Led Zeppelin, their pomp. And but he kind of claims that he's got his main Les Paul that we all know and we all saw him with. He had a backup Les Paul. He had a double neck, and he had an acoustic which he said he'd sold, so he didn't have any more.
Right.
So it indicate that this was one of only a handful of guitars that he actually owned at the time. Whether or not that's true, I'm just reading between the lines in that article.
Interesting. Yes.
I don't know. But I mean, he's certainly, what are we now? We're 50 years down the line, aren't we? So probably like most players, like Keith Richards with a warehouse of guitars, Slash with a warehouse of guitars. Maybe he does have a lot, but he certainly used his instruments as tools more so than collectibles. Yes. And he was inspired by Eddie Cochran to buy that guitar.
And what a guitar it's the guitar, because from the cover, all in black and white. Yeah. When they do win it, it's like, oh, it's a lovely, nice orange.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, really bright orange guitar. Yeah,
it's beautiful. Remind me of the year again. Sorry.
So that's 1957.
Fantastic.
So Jimmy Page initially he wanted one with a G brand like Eddie Cochran.
Yeah.
And so you get this big G like engraved into it, a bit like cowboy style.
Yes, I remember those. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
But between 56 and 57, they transitioned that out. So the guitar he ended up having to go for, because the place that he asked to look for one couldn't get one with a G brand, so he ended up with one, slightly later.
I guess an F hole will settle then.
Yeah, there we go. Exactly.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thanks for showing these, Luke. Yeah, and they'll all be available on Tuesday, the 9th of September.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All excited. Well, after talking about guitars for a long time and coming in this room and seeing what's around here, I thought I'd speak to this guy, Chris. What you say, mate?
I'm saying that I've now got to blag my way through talking about some of these things.
You have, but to make you feel better, you're on the fancier camera, so what's your position here, mate?
My position, I'm effectively like Luke's minion. So I work very closely with Luke. I'm full-time in the guitar department.
Yeah.
Most of my time is spent essentially photographing guitars.
Yeah, and filming the channel.
And doing that stuff too.
He's behind the camera, that's why I wanted to get him in front of the camera, just so people knew exactly who's making history.
It is this guy who's making all those
It is this guy.
stupid jokes at Luke.
So with all the guitar stuff we've been on about, mate, what's going off in this room then? Because you've got all sorts in here. What's this room about?
Currently it's a huge mess.
Yep.
Like this mess, it will be sorted when we get around to sale time, but this is...
It's a beautiful mess though.
Organised chaos, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So in here, usually it's the overspill from the guitar stuff. So
Right.
Our day 2 guitars, which the affordable guitars.
Yeah, sure.
Sub £200. But also guitar spares, accessories, studio, and even pedals too.
Yeah.
And then this side of the room.
Yep.
Will be the other musical instruments, which is a bit of a running joke in this place. Like
Yep.
A guitar is a musical instrument, but because we get that much of it, it's its own department.
Sure. Yeah.
So this is going to be, your violins, banjos, percussion,
Yeah.
you name it,
And a
right?
cheeky harp thrown in there for good measure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, that might be left over from the last auction.
Sure. Yeah.
But I mean, you see like weird and wonderful guitars, right? But in the musical instrument side, it's even crazier again when you're looking at like a Theorbo or something like that. The first time you see one of those, you're like, what the hell is this? It's this like 12-foot long lute effectively with like 2 necks.
Yeah, because it's like on the guitar side of stuff, you'll see, like, I remember seeing that 5-neck guitar that you had, but then you get even quirkier ones on the other side of things.
And it's like, that's the great thing with guitars, right? Is because it's the electric guitar anyway, like a relatively young instrument comparatively to stuff on this side. So there's still a lot of people going, oh, how can we make this design that hasn't changed in 70 years? How can we make it stand out a bit more? And you do see some wacky stuff. I mean, there's that little twin neck white thing over there.
Yeah.
I think it's like it's just like a Chinese-made pointy guitar.
Yeah.
But it's still a wacky thing, right?
Of course, because if people are like thinking about, say if there's anyone out there that's thinking of like, I can make a guitar better, that would probably bring me nicely over to this little bit over here, wouldn't it?
I like what you did. That's a segue into...
Yeah, because this is what grabbed me when I first walked in. I grabbed him and says, Chris, what's all this stuff over here? And this, it looks cool.
We got really sad and did what apparently many men do together. Talk about wood.
Talk about wood, and sometimes metal, but mainly wood.
Mostly wood.
And the arranging of wood. So what we got here?
So we've got a mixture of woods for some of this is we've got like fretboard blanks, sets of like back and sides, and some tops for mostly acoustic guitars. Some of the fretboard blanks, it would be whichever you want it to be.
Yes.
So we've got mixture. We've got some zebra wood. There's some Pau Ferro. There's I think some African blackwood down on the end.
Nice.
A little bit of purple heart, which they're cool woods. Sometimes they're not the best.
Yep.
Not the nicest woods to work.
Sure.
So this should be a little bit of purple heart here.
Yep.
But it's all interesting stuff. Like you don't see things like purple heart on guitars very often.
Yes.
We've had a couple of guitars in the past that it's been on the fretboard and it looks mega because it's you think most of the time you've either got maple, which is like a whitey yellowy wood, or you've got your rosewood, which is brown or can be a bit more black, then ebony, which is obviously quite dark, and then you get something that's actually like, I've got a funky purple fretboard.
Definitely. I bet this is so useful for people as well that are just trying to seek certain, maybe even a certain grain to a degree.
Exactly. I mean, and there is a mixture of like so much stuff. I mean, a bit more bird's eye maple there. There's zero coat blanks in here somewhere. Yeah,
because what's all this stuff? Is this all part of it as well? These bits over here? Because I was out in a chat earlier as well. I was going through some boxes. So there's some kind of, what are these, like templates? Would you say, or molds?
These are like your molds or jigs for various acoustic shapes. So this is, I think it's a J45. The previous owners lovingly said they're templates of, but great for if you're grabbing yourself some wood.
Multiple pieces of wood
to make yourself a guitar with.
Somebody's over here, isn't there?
Blanks. I mean, it's like spalted maple on the top of
Wow, nice.
but it's a weighty thing. But then you think, you know, you're going to be taking some of the material out of this anyway to fit your pickups in and your control cavities and stuff. But to be honest, if I had more time, more spare time, I'd actually probably get a bit into that myself.
Yeah. Maybe else someone will come along. You better snap it up, because there's some bits in here as well, isn't there, mate?
So there's a mixture of tools that I think some of this might get broken down a little bit further.
Yeah. All useful for guitar builders and luthiers.
Exactly that. I mean, we've got some. I take this for example. So this is an iron for. It's more on the repair side of things, so this would be to remove a fretboard from an acoustic. Okay. But where the fretboard or the fretboard is over the body, so you've got these notches so it can sit on the fret, and you'd effectively gently heat this up. Oh, okay. To loosen the glue to then get it off. So there's a bit of everything for everyone, isn't there? Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, we've got some some Stumac like radius blocks and stuff. Which, I mean, these. From memory, they're actually pretty pricey anyway. I mean, Stumac stuff is, and that's not a dig at them, because some of this stuff is pretty decent. Yeah. There's even some nut files buried in this box somewhere, which I mean, they can be quite expensive tools. Yeah, I bet. Yeah. I've heard some horror stories from some people about, you know, like, oh, I bought like a set of 6 nut files and remortgaged my house. But yeah, they're all really useful things. All of this stuff was from one collection. So you've got, like I said, the molds, the jigs, the hand tools, the bodies, these blanks, and the power tools. It's one collection. This chap was a luthier who unfortunately passed away. Yeah. His stuff has ended out here. But it's just. Yeah, just a mix of cool stuff. Interestingly, there's a 3D printer in there. Yeah. So, like, some 3D printed guitars coming into the market at some point. Well, there's like, is it Vibracell? That's it. Yeah. They're like kind of that vibe, I think. They're like one piece, kind of like a plasticky. That's a lot of them, but it's just one of those things I just haven't. Got you. And go, oh, that's cool. Got you, man. Well, hopefully everyone will come down on a Tuesday, the 9th September. Yeah, I think it will be, Tuesday the 9th will be the day for the guitars and memorabilia. This stuff will most likely be the day after, so the Wednesday or the Thursday. Brilliant. The final sort of which specific day these things will be on is still to be finalised. Yeah, cool. Between the 9th and the 12th. Excellent. Nice one, Chris. We need to get him out in front of the camera a bit more, don't we? Bless you, mate. So, I don't know where to start really, Luke, but I guess we'll start with you. Yeah. So, music, guitars, just everything. Where did it start? I guess in primary school, I was very influenced by my dad, music taste wise, raiding his vinyl collection, like I think a lot of people my age probably did. What did you find? So it was Beatles and Queen for me, Cat Stevens. So they were the three main ones, and we always had an upright piano in the house. Just messing around on that, just tucked in the corner of the house. And then in primary school, you had the chance to have lessons. So I think the instruments on offer were, you could have keyboard lessons, guitar lessons, recorder lessons, and singing, I think was basically it. Right. Because we had a piano at home, it was keyboard. Yeah. So I started out doing that, and that was throughout primary school. You know, I did a few minor performances in primary school as you do sometimes, and that was it was good fun. And we had like a band. We were rubbish, but we just used to. But we just used to play Beatles songs and things like that. Really. Great. So that kind of all started it. And then went to secondary school, so I'd have been around 11. And I still vividly remember the welcome meeting, or the induction meeting. So I'm there with my parents, and they're like, "Oh, this is the list of all the instruments you can learn through the school's program." And I thought, so I looked at the list, and I was looking down, I saw guitar, and I was like, "Oh wow, here we go." Yeah. And so I thought, right, well, said to my parents, I want to play guitar. They're like, no, you play the keyboard, so you're doing keyboard or piano. I was like, well, if that's the attitude you're going to take, I'm not going to play anything. I'm going to rebel. Kind of thing. I'm going to rebel. So my rebellious side came out. So I just
that was it really. Guitar came. I think that the coinciding birthday or Christmas, I ended up. I mean, I will sort of go off on one side. So I did when I was around 10 years old. I did buy my parents bought me a 40 quid guitar from Argos.
Yeah.
So I'd always had that around strumming. So I self-taught myself the basic chords C, G, D, A.
Brilliant.
You know, and played along with Beatles chord books as well again. And then this thing in secondary school happened, and that was it. And then the coinciding, but like I said, I think it was Christmas. I had my starter kit, which was a Squire Strat and a PV Rage.
Golden starter kit.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing with that, I mean, quite naive at the time, like I think most guitarists are, is the setup on them. If you get them out of the box, awful. I mean, you know, even the shops back then, they wouldn't really, unless you asked for it, they wouldn't set a guitar up.
Yeah. And you feel like it's you. You feel like you're the problem.
Yeah, exactly. And but I kind of persevered with it, even though it was almost really impossible to play. And used to make a noise, used to completely, you know, irritate my brothers. I think my parents didn't really mind, but you know, my brothers used to get a bit annoyed with it. But I just but we were lucky to live out in the country, so we didn't really have any neighbours to disturb. And it went from there really.
Brilliant.
I had lessons from the age of 11 till probably 16. I felt that I got better than my guitar teacher. And that's when I decided to call it a day. And there's another side to that, is that I got on so well with my guitar teacher, we'd end up talking for 25 minutes and 5 minutes of lesson.
Brilliant.
So I also felt a bit guilty for wasting my parents' money.
I know what you're saying. Yes.
So there was two sides to that.
To learn. You know,
it does.
Me, it was about £20 an hour.
Yeah. That's it. It was when I was learning, it was £11 for half an hour, so it would have been about the same. Yeah,
because when I started, it would have been 2004, and it was 10. And then found someone else, and it was 20, and that was when for me it was like, maybe I've learned enough now. I could probably go off on my own. Is that what it was like with you?
Exactly.
I've got enough. I can
had enough.
Kind of navigate.
So I probably started playing in bands from the age of maybe 14. You know, really bad bands, just getting together in the local scout hut we went to, because I was a scout when I was younger as well, so they allowed us to use the hall for basically nothing in my hometown. And
bit of Kumbaya, my lord.
Well, we were always me and my friends, we were very influenced by new metal at the time, so that's what we were.
And
that would have been it. So
I was about to ask you, was there a guitar player or a figure that you thought that even now still you look to and it's like, that's the person that made me want to play guitar?
My biggest guitar hero and the influence really to start was Brian May, because I was massively into Queen. So, you know, there's a lot of learning Queen as well as the Beatles stuff. So that was probably my earliest influence. But then as my music tastes, you know, progressed into you know, I mean, I remember when I was in year 7, so first year of secondary school, 11 years old, and a guy that I, you know, went on to become one of my best friends, he showed me, we were sat in class, and he gave me an earbud. It would have been on a Walkman, I'm sure, something like that. And it was Nevermind.
Wow.
You know, so Nirvana. And so that would have been 97. I think that album came out was it 91? It's still a fairly old album then in some respects. But
fresh to you.
It was like, oh my God, what is this?
Yes.
And then I got into Green Day. I remember going into Bath with some mates and buying Dookie. And so I was well into punk and grunge.
Lovely.
And then my next, quite relevant now, I think, my next step going into, you know, heavier genres was Ozzy Osbourne, R.I.P.
I know.
So
what timing.
Yeah, timing. So I was 16 years old, 2002, on family holiday in Malta. Went into a record store and you could still get the big can earphones to see what they had on sample. And the Live at Budokan album had just come out, so you would have, with Zakk Wylde. And I listened to that and I was like, oh my God, what is this? And I also bought an Alice in Chains record. I think it was the greatest hits. And it just put me into that. I'd already been listening to Metallica through another friend, and it just put me into this you know, deep dive of basically I was into heavy metal, punk, mainly pop punk. You know, Blink-182 were a huge thing for me.
Yeah.
And you know, I still listen to all that now. So yeah, it was metal, heavy rock, emo, classic rock as well. I was a big Lynyrd Skynyrd fan. That was another influence. I've probably seen them 5 times amazingly.
Wow,
you
brilliant.
know. And you know, Metallica, ended up seeing them 4 or 5 times, and you know, that's me really. I'd always been into Hendrix and things like that. You know, as you naturally do, I think, as a guitarist.
Yeah, just exploring.
I got a really broad range of, you know, genres. I am into a lot of pop music still, you know, especially with the kids now. You know, my eldest he's into Taylor Swift. You know, he's 9, and you know, I kind of thinking, oh God, Taylor Swift, really? But then actually, when he's putting some records on, I'm like, yeah, she's actually really good. Fair play.
Yeah, and may even influence people to play guitar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like times are changing. You know,
times are changing. She plays guitar. You know, she's up there with a guitar, and you know, another pop, you know, Glastonbury Festival this year. Watched a lot of coverage, and you know, it's so hot. I just sat in the garden, you know, just trying to keep cool. The kids are in the paddling pool, so I watched a lot of it. And then I think it was the final night, which would have been the Sunday, wouldn't it? And I think me and my wife were watching a film, and she sort of said, "Oh, I'm going to go to bed." And so I thought, right, I'll see what's on Glastonbury. Turned it on as Olivia Rodrigo.
Yeah.
I thought, I've heard some of her stuff before. You know, I'm not sure. But she had this band behind her.
Yeah.
All female band. And because of the band side, all of the songs kind of had this pop punk edge.
Yeah.
Best performance I saw all weekend. And I was really shocked.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, you know. And it's quite nice to see that now that young artists are still really promoting guitar music.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I think a few years ago, there's this worry that it was like on the decline.
I agree. I agree.
But the guitar market never has been. You know, the guitar market's strong. You know, we're still here, and you know, a lot of, you know, prominent dealers are still standing, and the sales are good.
Yeah.
But you do have this fear. You know, where's the next generation coming from? But you know, they're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my journey really. You know, I mean, luckily my kids are at an age now. You know, I got 6 and 9-year-olds, so I now am having the chance to freedom to get to festivals, taking them with me, and you know, influencing them. So I've just been to 2 music festivals on the trot with them last 2 weekends, and you know, they're now showing an interest in instruments. So you know, I almost get to see it through my parents' eyes, and it's a lovely thing, you know.
Almost coming full circle.
Yeah, full circle. And you know, my youngest is showing he's 6, but he's already, you know, wanting to grab my guitars. The eldest has shown a bit of an interest in drumming, and I mean, I actually wanted to be a drummer initially.
Interesting, yeah. Okay.
So I want
rhythm.
Exactly. But my best friend, so my cousin, is a drummer, which is why I wanted to do it. But my best friend, this is in the days of the keyboard playing, so before guitar at school. So my best friend, he was a drummer, or wanted to play drums. He actually lived back to back with my cousin in the village we were in. So he'd heard him playing and got some lessons off him.
Right.
And I kind of said to him, I'm going to learn drums too. And he said, you can't do that, because how can we be in a band?
Oh.
If you're,
drummers.
2 drummers.
Where's the melody? Just rhythm.
Yeah, exactly. So that's another reason why I went down the guitar route.
Yes.
And I'm glad I did. You know, I quite still like to play drums, but because my eldest is showing an interest, we've got an electric kit at home now, so maybe there's time.
Yeah. Well, I think as guitar players anyway, it's easy to be like, musically, melodically, have an interest in different things, and especially rhythm.
Yeah.
You know, so when you was coming out of your teens into your 20s, was you veering into other things, or is it still like the guitar is what I need to follow? You know, it's got to be the guitar.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was heavily, you know, involved in bands at that time. So like I started with covers bands, you know, with the whole new metal thing, because you know, that's what my peers were into. But then I went down. I started sort of getting together with, you know, you'd switch band members around and you'd get better musicians together. So I was in a pop punk band that was quite popular in our hometown and the local area. And then that went into going into, you know, I was in originals heavy metal bands, and we we toured around the country, as you try and do.
Brilliant. Yeah.
In my late teens, early 20s, certainly when I got the chance to drive, and we'd be driving around in my Mark 1 Polo with a full drum kit, you know, all of our stack amps and everything. I don't know how we did it, but we did. We squeezed it all in, 4 of us. My younger brother was the bassist, and so, you know, it's quite, I had to be responsible for him because he was probably under 16 at the time when we started doing it. But we just used to drive around and have a laugh. And I think the biggest thing we ever got to do is there was a band called In Me who were quite big, you know, back then, and we got a support slot in Bath at the Pavilion to play with them, which was a fantastic event. You know, that's my only really claim to fame.
That's great though, man.
But we went down really well. There were industry people there as well, naturally, and there were a few conversations about, you know, tailoring what we did and essentially having to put out a record that was good enough. But things around that time happened, and you know, band members didn't, you know, see the same way. One band member left for uni, I think. And then you know, other bands started. And then, you know, as you get older, you know, this started happening, you know, the guitar auction thing.
Because that's what I was going to lead on to, because before we go on to the guitar auctions, I don't think people realise that, well, they might not realise that you do still make music now. You know, you're in a group at the minute. And...
So I mean, I'm you know, what am I now? 39. So I'm in a covers band, get together with some guys from, you know, one really good friend. He's got a kid in the same class as you know, my kid. There's another dad from the school who plays drums, and then I through nursery with my youngest kid, I got to know another couple of guys that happened to be looking for another guitarist and a drummer and a bassist. And, you know, there was a guitarist and a singer that we were looking for because we'd been getting together. So it was like, it was almost meant to be. But we got together, and, you know, it was just an excuse really to get out of the house, have a few beers, cheaper than going to the pub to rent a rehearsal space for, you know, 30 quid for 4 hours, and play some covers with the idea to gig. And we're just putting that all together now. So, you know, still keeping my hand in. There was a long period when, I guess, from the age of 30 through to 36, 37, well, I had 2 young boys, and it was almost impossible to do. It was hectic. This job is busy as well. You know, I mean, it's a full-on job, which, you know, I think you can see the amount of stock we've got. And
I've been walking around all morning, and you just, when you watch the videos, you just know that there's a lot of work put into it. But when you see it properly, it's just like, I mean, I'll be showing some clips throughout the duration of the video, but it's just like, wow. Because what year? So if you're 39, then when did you first start dabbling in the world of auctions? Were you straighting on guitars, or was you auctioning like antiques?
No.
Fresh face Luke?
So I was 21. So 2007, I started at Gardiner Houlgate. So before that, so between school and, so I applied to go to university. I decided not to go. And basically because I wanted to get the band I was in at the time off the ground. So my parents kind of accepted, right, well, you need a part-time job. So I worked at Tesco for a couple of days a week.
Brilliant.
Sacking shelves.
Cool.
While I was trying to do the whole band thing. Then come like 2007, it would have been ish, it wasn't happening. And I was working part-time at Tesco, but working a lot of overtime because less was happening with the band. And that's when, you know, you get your parents take you to one side and say, what are you going to do? So I basically applied for every single job in the Wiltshire Times, which is the big local newspaper here, as we are in Wiltshire, obviously. And I applied for this job. Now, at the time I applied for the job, I didn't even know what an auction house did.
Wow.
I literally just applied for everything that was within the same pay grade, essentially, that I was on, but potentially had a career path. So yeah, very much pressurized by my parents, which thank God, you know, because we are here now.
There is such a thing as good pressure sometimes.
Exactly. So so I had a couple of interviews for things. One was to be a mortgage advisor, and couldn't be more different from this, and probably not what I'd been cut out for. But I did have an interview, and I interviewed well, and
sure.
I think I'm pretty sure I got a job offer anyway. But to my surprise, I had a phone call from Jamie, the director here, saying we'd like to invite you in for an interview. We would like to let you know that there has been hundreds of applicants because it's quite a rare job to come up. It was basically a sale room assistant, a porter's job. I said, oh, fair enough. Anyway, so I came in for the interview, sat down, and there was a bit of luck in it because my uncle is a chap called Robin Coleman who was he used to organise a fair called the Bath Decorative Antiques Fair. It was well known on the antique circuit. So in the interview, I've got common sense and I'm a hard worker.
Yes.
And they could gauge that anyway. I've got a good solid upbringing. They could gauge that. Shoehorn my uncle's name in, and they're like, we know Robin very well. So they phoned him up for a reference, and they said, what can you say about Luke? And say, he's a lovely chap. He's hardworking. He said, my only reservation with him would be that he's got these ideas of wanting to be in a band. So if he's doing that, is he going to suddenly
depart? Yes.
Okay. And so after they'd spoken to him, they phoned me up, and they actually questioned me on that.
Okay.
And I said, well, no, it's not. It's something that's not really happening.
Yeah.
So
that's
anyway,
why I'm here.
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
And on that basis, they said, well, we'd like to give you a job. It'll be on a probation period, basically 6 months, something like that. See how you get on. And so, joined the company. And I got offered the job on my 21st birthday. So I was
present.
No, it was the day after my 21st birthday. I'd been out. Obviously, it's my 21st birthday. Mum comes up and says, Luke, you need to get yourself together because it's the auction house on the phone. I was like, oh my God, really hungover.
Yeah.
Anyway, the director, Jamie, he knew that because he knew he would have known it was my 21st birthday before. Anyway, he said, oh, I'm delighted to offer you the job. I thought, oh, fantastic. So within a month, I'd started here, signed the contract, got started on my probation period.
18 years later.
18 years later, here I am. But the job initially consisted of Gardiner Houlgate sell musical instruments, clocks and watches. They had general sales at the time, not so much anymore. Antique and fine art, jewellery, watches. So I was basically the guy that would assist all the departments. I'd do photography. I'd sweep the floors. I'd get things put in the right places, book people in. Look after customers outside of the specialist side, clean the toilets if you have to, just do what's got to be done. Everything. And I got through my probation. They were very happy. Then with the musical instrument side, we'd always had a few guitars in. So the company had been auctioning musical instruments for probably at least 10 years before I joined.
Okay.
So we were established. We were the biggest auction house outside of London. So we were the only provincial auction house outside of London for musical instruments. So we had that base, we had that reputation, and we get a few guitars in. Because of my interest in guitars, I got very interested in talking on the viewing. I'd be one of the guys on the viewing floor looking after the sale room and from a security point of view. And I get to talk to a lot of guitarists that had come through, and I'd basically hone towards them because I wanted to talk to them. You know? And through that you get to know people. And I got to know one collector really well who was quite local, and he'd always used to go on about this fantastic collection he had. And it was such a good collection. I was like, I couldn't really believe it. I was like, really? I didn't really have much knowledge about guitars at all then. I just played, Anyway, sadly, he passed away. And we were called in to go and value his guitars potentially to auction them, and everything he said was right. They were all there.
Wow.
So we're early Strats, early Gibsons.
Yeah.
So our first sale was, or our first successful sale, because there's another story to that, was in 2011, where I had his collection of 25 guitars, and a guy from up Manchester or Liverpool way had a collection of 50 guitars that happened to come down at the same time.
Wow.
He had 25 vintage American pieces and 25 were like quirky Japanese things.
Right, okay.
So what I did is I took all the American guitars, put them together. We held a sale up in London. This is 2011.
Yep.
And we coincided it with our fine violin sale that we held in London. And it was a complete sellout and a massive success. I was really good friends with someone who was a web developer, but specifically did web development for bands and artists. So he helped me create the website guitarauctions.com that we see now, but in quite a primitive way that it was to start with. You know, it was amazing how much that website's developed. And that kicked it all off, and it snowballed from there. So it was on the back of having these musical instrument sales and me getting to know collectors, and then we had that one sale, and then suddenly I had people phoning us up. Oh, I understand you do guitar auctions. Well, we've only had one, but we do them. And it snowballed. So every musical instrument sale, we were then having guitars. So I think my first sale after that was 100 guitars. Then it went to like 120. The next sale was 150. Wow. Then suddenly someone phones me up. Oh, I've got 200 guitars. What do I do with them?
Wow.
Blimey, 200 guitars. What are we going to do? Of course, we'll take them all in. And it was a huge learning curve for me.
I bet it was.
Just like almost thrown at the deep end. So I'd already had a bit of experience at that point from valuing and being a general valuer. So I was already starting my steps to becoming a valuer anyway. I was helping out on the clock department, so I nearly became one of the clock specialists here. And I was getting quite far down that, but the guitar side got so big, I was thrown into this full time. And all my knowledge has been built up on the job.
Brilliant.
You know, I've had the chance to take apart vintage guitars. I've had the chance to make mistakes and catalog things incorrectly. I made so many mistakes, but it's almost a good job to make mistakes in, because an auction is very much a sold as seen thing, and it's within our terms that it's all caveat emptor. You know, the buyer ascertains the condition and things. I mean, now we are kind of, because we are a specialist for the past 10 plus years, we have stood by what we said. You know, and we do try and be accurate, because that's what sets us apart from just another auction house selling guitars. So, you know, I do consider myself an expert and a specialist now, as a lot of other people do. But back then, buyers would, you know, they would have to satisfy themselves. We basically catalog things on the face of it. But then you would get someone buy something and say, I've just bought this, you know, so-and-so Strat off you. Everything inside's changed. I'm like, oh, that's it? You know, like really naive, really young. And then it's by making those mistakes, you're like, right, well, next time I'm not going to make that mistake. So you sort it out with the set as the buyer if you need to. But a lot of the time, buyers are like, well, it is sold as seen. There's not really much comeback, although you do feel sorry for them, because they're wanting it to be original.
Because does it get a bit difficult sometimes when people may bring you a guitar and say, we've got a 1964 Fender here, and you take one look at it and you know full well that it's a Tokai that's been, you know, worked on a little bit. Where do you go with that conversation when you know full well that something isn't quite right, and you're trying to respectfully be like, I can't put that through as what you're saying?
So
where does that kind of fall?
I find it quite easy now. Well, to start with, I used to hate it, you know, being the bearer of bad news or catching someone out.
Mr. Confrontation, maybe.
So I've had loads of people try, in the early days, I had loads of people try and give me stuff that was wrong. And they were purposely putting it in the auction, but because they saw we did these specialist sales, but they knew that perhaps we didn't have the knowledge at the time. So this was, you know, very, very early days. You know, I quickly did get the knowledge. But I did have consultants very early on that did vet stuff for me anyway. So there wasn't very many things that did slip through the net. As I mentioned.
Got you.
One I vividly remember was a Gibson Firebird that quite a prominent dealer had given me, and on the face of it, great. When he went away, I took it apart. I was like, something's not quite right there. Showed one of my consultants a few photos, and he told me exactly what it was. So I phone up the dealer and tell them my findings, and then he turns around and says, "Oh, I didn't realise that." Or,
Yeah.
No, and you said, pull the other one.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
And so we did get quite a lot of that in the early days. That doesn't happen anymore because
you're too wise to it.
Yeah, because they now know that I'm going to throw anything back at them, and I'll throw it back quite quickly. Yeah,
sure.
But yeah, you do also, on the other hand, you get a family who've always throughout their their dad's died. They've got a Strat. A 60s Strat. I've actually got one here that someone gave me. They said was a 63 Strat. Came with a big collection of very nice guitars, and I had to turn around and tell them it's not. It's a parts caster put together out of cheap parts. But it's got a serial number plate on. And to me it was quite obvious, but I can see why to others it wouldn't be.
Yes, of course.
And I have to tell them, and they're very disappointed. On the other hand, I can get someone bring in a guitar that they think's worth £100, and it's a 60 Strat, and I tell them it's worth 10 grand plus.
And you're the bearer of good news.
Yeah, and I'm the bearer of good news.
Yes.
And both sides are rewarding. I quite like telling people, their things wrong, or I quite like catching people out. Or I quite like being the bearer of good news. But you do have to be careful because a lot of these things can be deceased estates. There's a lot of sadness, and you do have to be a shoulder to cry on sometimes as well. But I enjoy that as well.
Yeah, of course.
It's gone from the early days of having 100 guitars a sell to now having.
I was trying to count it for the newest one.
700-800 guitars we had in the last sell.
Wow.
4 times a year. So we easily sell over 3,000 guitars a year.
Yeah, because is this that's amazing, because this one in September, it's a 4-day auction, isn't it?
4-day auction as it stands, unless things get too mad.
But it could, again, that's great.
I mean, at the moment we've probably got 400 guitars in stock. But there's 2 weeks till the deadline. I'll probably take in at least another 200.
Got you.
The diary's rammed. So,
wow, that's incredible, man.
Yeah.
Wow. So after all the years of working your way up through everything, different roles, different positions, at this point now, Monday to Friday?
Monday to Friday. Yeah.
What's a typical day? Is it the same? Do you come in and go, it's this, I've got to sort this, or is something different on a Tuesday? What do people don't? Is it something people don't realise in the day-to-day of your...
So my week is basically, because the sales go in cycles, you've got 4 sales a year. So they're every March, June, September and December. So kind of the processing as you go through is kind of always the same in some ways. So you've got your stage where you're taking gearing up to a deadline. You've then got your processing stage. You've then got your everything getting photographed by the team here. I don't really have time for that myself, but I do dab in the last minute. You've got all your marketing, you've got all your social media posts, and then obviously once the deadline's gone, it's the last minute touch is getting the catalogue ready. We get our guys coming in doing the video demos, and all the social media advertising we do, anything else. The sale comes, we have the sale, we have viewing, sale. Then we have the post sale where I almost have to become an accountant and look through my accounts, make sure people are getting paid out the right money. I'm involved in every facet. I'm the auctioneer as well. So that's the cycling thing of how it works. But then on a day to day, it's pretty similar week on week. So Monday I'll come in, I'll have been bombarded by emails in the weekend, because that's when most people sit down and look through what they might want to sell. So Monday morning I'll probably have to answer between 50 and 100 emails of either ongoing or fresh inquiries. And then so that's Monday morning, and then it can either be most of it is that there'll obviously be appointments throughout the day of people bringing things in. The phone's always going with new inquiries. And then it's basically cataloging. So most of the week I will be in a dictaphone. It all gets dictated and it gets typed up in the office. So I'll just be dictating. So what you see in the catalog is my spoken word onto a dictaphone. And then once it's on the system, I proof check it. Obviously taking part guitars, looking inside them. Chris, who most people will know Chris as the guy that stands behind the camera in our YouTube videos. Or know him on the viewing days. So he is also full-time on the guitar department with me. So he's my right-hand man, really. So me and Chris is doing a lot of the photography, but he's assisting with taking guitars apart. He's learning quite a lot, which he's now learning from me. And he's starting to catalogue things as well.
Starting to click,
so it's, it's fantastic having him, really.
Yeah,
I'd be lost without him now because he's so busy.
And then you still manage to find the time to edit the videos, don't you?
So our video day is always a Wednesday. So half a day will be YouTube, being a YouTuber, and getting the video ready to go out on a Friday. And really the rest of the week, apart from the bombardment of emails on a Monday morning and the YouTube stuff, that is what it is. It's cataloging, proof checking, inspecting guitars, fielding inquiries, seeing clients in. And that is the day to day, really. It's 9 till 5:30. I do work in the evening at home, proof checking and things, just because I have to. It's all part of being head of a department in some ways. But it's not a terrible job to do. So I don't actually mind being sat on the sofa looking at things to do with guitars.
It's not the worst thing, is it?
Not the worst thing to do. No. So I mean that is me, really. Heavily involved in the world of guitar. I mean to be honest with you, this job, in terms of playing guitar outside of work now, I probably do it far less than I used to. I don't, apart from when I get together with the band, I don't really play guitar outside of work because I'm around them all day. So around them all day. When I get home, my time goes into other hobbies, really. So it's good fun.
Cool. Before we talk about this guitar, let's look at these two first. I'm going to pass you this one. Luke, why have you brought this? Why have you want to show me this one today?
So I think this is kind of like this was my first serious guitar. I said earlier, Squire Strat was the first thing. The second guitar was a Epiphone Les Paul 3 pickup custom, which was that was my first upgrade. But this is my first serious guitar, and one that I bought with my own money. I actually saved up for this on a paper round and cutting my neighbour's lawn.
That's some paper round and some grass to mow.
I got 20 quid a week, and so it took me. You can imagine how long it took me. So this was 700 quid.
Right.
That's how long it took me to save up for this guitar. I'd always wanted a Flying V. Just growing up, this heavy metal and James Hetfield and all that. So I was determined to get a Flying V, and I was reading through Guitarist magazine and saw Peter Cook's Guitar World in Hanwell. Have you ever been there before? But it was a really, really weird shop. So it's basically along this row of terrace houses. So you had to get the train out to Hanwell. You get off, you walk down this residential street, and it was just on this row of residential, no other shops around. And you stumbled across this shop, and I walked into the shop. And what's quite interesting, I'm going to refer to the video you and Andy did about tone woods.
Sure,
So what was interesting is I'd already decided I wanted a Flying V. So it didn't matter what it sounded like. I'd seen it in the paper. So by the time I was there in the shop, I looked at this V, and I just went in. I said, "Yeah, can I buy that guitar, please?" Didn't even try it. Didn't even pick it up. And the bloke said to me, "Are you sure you don't want to give it out or amp it up?" I was like, "Oh, I feel a bit nervous playing, And then he kind of said, "Right, well, here it is." And one thing that I didn't realize at the time is you got these crescent moon inlays. So this is 2004, I think it is. No, 2002, which had been right. So I was 16 at the time.
Wow.
So the faded series came with dots originally, but the crescent moon inlays are actually rare. It was a limited run they did, which I didn't realise at the time. They only just come out. So I was like, right, well, I'll have it. But it came in a gig bag, and I remember saying, oh, that's not very good, is it? You know, I've got to get it back on the train. And they said, well, you can have a Stag hard case, but you'll have to pay, I don't know, 50 quid for it. And so my dad kind of like rolled his eyes and said, oh, you know, here you go, I'll pay for the case, you know, already paid for the train ticket and the car journey up.
Good old dad.
And then away we went. But I love it, and it turns out to just be a great guitar. It's got a really nice neck profile, nice and thin. It was good for my 16-year-old hands.
And you still come back to it now?
I do. Ebony boards. It's really nice and lightweight, mahogany. These are really hot pickups. Open. The Alnico, whatever they had at the time, 490Ts or something. But they were all the rage when this guitar came out. But the sad thing is I played a gig. I played a Battle of the Bands gig a week later. So took this guitar, really pleased to finally get this opportunity to play it. I leant it against the table. The table needed to be moved. I moved the table, over it went, and banged the headstock on it.
Rock and roll, Luke.
Within a week of having it.
Wow, within a week?
Yeah. So that has been there since week 1.
Wow.
First one of those I ever saw, I was about 14. I was in a club that I shouldn't have been in, watching a band called Strife, a 3-piece, really heavy band. This is in the early 70s, blew me away, and the guy played one of those. I remember him jumping off a speaker stack in a strobe light, which I'd never seen anything before. I was absolutely transfixed.
That's amazing.
I bought a single afterwards. I've still got it on green vinyl. Still got it.
Wow. Yeah. I bet that's what you did really, want it backflipping off table.
Table. I wish it was. But then my dad rushed me home in the car to go and get our Epiphone, my Epiphone Les Paul, and I ended up using that. I was absolutely gutted.
Yeah.
But I had this one fixed, but at the same time, I think my dad felt a bit sorry for me, and he was kind of like, well, it's never going to be like new again. So, he was worried that it wouldn't be like new. So he actually ended up buying me a Gibson SG, which was so I suddenly had 2 Gibsons in the space of a month. Yeah. And I was like, whoa, Dad, this is too much. But he's like, no, don't worry about it. It's, I was fortunate enough to have parents in that position.
Yeah, man. And how did the fix come about? How did the fix get sorted?
So we just took it to a local shop.
And
we just left it with them for a while. They also sourced a SG, which I think the shop we went to didn't have a Gibson dealership at the time, so they actually had to get one via GAC. No longer with us, sadly. Shop shut down. So I got the SG, and so I had those 2, and then I used to sort of shred this through a Marshall triple super lead 100-watt stack, which I still have.
That's the way.
So I actually mainly used the SG in my band at the time. I kind of this was kind of a backup it became, and then the SG I had with EMG active pickups. I basically had the Hetfield set, and that was the heavy metal guitar. But a lot of people say they don't like these because they find them uncomfortable to play, but I find them very comfortable because it's like there you go. And because holding it like this, you see a lot of classical guitarists holding their guitar on with a stool on their left leg, and it's kind of like more of a traditional way to hold it. And what this kind of does is it kind of does that for you.
Got you.
So it gives it, for me, I always found it because I perch on the end of the sofa in my bedroom and hold it, and that's how I used to practice because this is the only guitar I had. Apart from the SG, I used to play this. Or stood up, you don't even need a strap.
I
can play it quite comfortably.
So if anyone's got any problems with them, it's you.
I had both. Maybe a bit of privilege there. I don't know, but
so there's actually no problem with these guitars. It's just everyone else's problem.
I 100%. If anyone says I can't play a flying V because you can't play them sat down, it's rubbish. It actually puts you in a better playing position, in my opinion, because you have to pull your hand around more, and I don't find a problem. So. Yeah, that was kind of it for me. And then I was always kind of like, it has to be Gibson or nothing else. And I wouldn't have I wouldn't have any association with Fender whatsoever
until
I'll
swap this round for you. Until this came along.
Yeah, so that is strap's still on there. It's still got a strap because probably the last thing I used with my band.
Fairly recent, this guitar. Is it past couple of years this came out?
So this would be, again, this is from 2002. This is the only guitar I've bought in our auction.
Okay.
Actually, no, tell a lie. I bought two. One was a Simon Neil Squire, Biffy Clyro guitarist. So I'm a big Biffy Clyro fan as well, which is the reason I got that. But that's a great guitar as well. If you can buy a Squire Simon Neil, buy one, because they look fantastic. So they got green guard, but they also have these pickups that work really well for both heavy music. So the way they split the magnets, so you get good bass response and clarity on the upper end. So we're quite clever. So this is a Tom DeLonge Strat, Blink-182 guitarist and singer. I think most people who tune into our YouTube channel know that I'm a huge Tom DeLonge fan, and everything Blink-182. He's a fantastic songwriter. The three-chord wonder, I guess you could look at Status Quo as being a three-chord wonder back then. I guess I'd say Blink-182 are that band of the later years.
Three chords, one pickup.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And this is the thing. This is what really got me onto. I loved the look of his guitars. These surf colours. Surf green, the graffiti yellow. There we go. Vandalism yellow, that one. But I always wanted a yellow one. But this one came up for auction, and I thought, right, this is before I was an auctioneer, before we actually specialised in guitars. So this came along early days. I do have the knob that's fallen off in the bag somewhere.
And did you try this before you bought it, or did you this one?
Again, it was like I wanted one, so I played it because it was here. That's not the reason I bought it. I didn't buy it because it was a fantastic instrument, and I've just loved it ever since. It's got the Seymour Duncan Invader pickup, which is it's probably the highest output pickup you can get without going active. Yeah. Or it was at the time.
Yeah.
Really nice and loud. And single volume knob.
Yeah.
And I'm very much a plug and play player. I don't use pedals.
Yeah.
I just plug straight into an amp and go. I've got no interest in messing around. I don't like trems. I prefer hardtails. Yeah. So for me, this is everything. It's got my preferred headstock, which is the big, big 70s head with the big bold logo. So again, a bit like the whole Tonewood thing. For me, it doesn't matter, because it was all about what the guitar looked like, and that's where the sound comes from.
Sure.
I do think there is some. When we talk about the NCG guitar, there are hardware elements that I do think makes a difference personally.
Yes.
But this not so much. But for me, it works.
I think on a lot of signature guitar series, it's like a signature model of an artist. When I was a bit younger, I used to think, that's just for people if they want that guitarist. But then I think, well, I've played like an Ed O'Brien Stratocaster at Radiohead, and that's really a great tool.
Yeah.
To navigate with different things, and I guess the same with this. I wouldn't see this kind of pickup on a different guitar even. Just
exactly, and because I am into rock music and certainly heavier, heavy. I mean, this is great. This is a pop punk guitar technically, but it's amazing for heavy metal because the pickup's so hot. And if you crank your gain. And if you know the type of music we used to scoop the mids out and have the treble and bass quite high. And you put you dial in the presence control on the Marshall, and you get this really thick, tight chugging sound. And people used to think I was mad playing heavy metal with a guitar that's actually quite sparkly and quite colourful. People expect Jacksons and Ibanez and things like that, and Flying V's.
Because I'd noticed that with a lot of the punk scene. It's like, even if you're coming out of the punk scene, getting to more like post-punk in late 70s, you have bands like Gang of Four where you'd have they'd be playing a Strat. That's not punk. But it sounds great.
And this is it. And at the moment, I'm massively into one of my one of my favourite bands at the moment is a band called Story So Far, and they're like they're a pop punk band, and I haven't found a song that I don't like by them. So if you're into pop punk, go and listen to them.
They're the ones.
But I also listen to stuff like which is known as easycore, and it's basically pop punk mix of heavy metal, and they're all using guitars like this. But it's a big mixture. Some will use an SG, some will use a single coil Strat. Anything goes. And these things can get modded. You can put hot pickups in a Strat, and if you don't like the sound of a guitar, I think as long as the guitar plays well, if you don't like the sound of the guitar, just change the pickups. And you can upgrade the hardware. And the base of the wood and the neck, the neck needs to be comfortable. Of course it does, and it needs to be set up well.
A good setup.
You can play anything really.
Exactly.
A guitar that you like. For some reason that you just gel with. For me, there's not a lot to do with the sound, but it's more down to the look which appeals to you, the feel of it, the weight of it. And if you like that guitar and it makes you want to play, you go to that little ritual of getting it out of its case or whatever. That's all to benefit.
Well, looks come first. They do, because if you look at most metal guitarists, the reason they're using super strats, or they're using Dimebag shaped or Kerry King V guitars, is because they've seen their idol using them. That's what they use. You won't find many people using things like this, even though I did, because it worked. And actually, I've never cared about what I look like at all. I've certainly haven't cared about what I'm using on stage. So for me, I didn't care that I was in a heavy metal band playing a bright green surf-looking guitar. It didn't matter to me. I think
because now you've got a bright yellow one.
Because I've got a bright yellow one. So I think we've.
Because I was wondering if I could. I might have to have a little use your words against you for this one, because there's evidence out there of how much Luke approves of this guitar.
And I was so blown away by it. I kind of it was a must.
Loves it, enjoys it. What words? I don't put words in your mouth, but
so I've known Andy for a very long time. Andy's probably one of my longest customers.
He's only over there. He's only over there, keeping track
just
of
out of shot. So
we're swapping seats. So he's there.
In the safe zone.
He's in the safe zone. I put a picture of him up with his mouth opening like that.
I think Andy I've known for a long time was a customer of ours buying weird and wonderful guitars. Got to talk to Andy, and I actually learned a lot off of Andy, as other people as well. But Andy gave me a lot of inside knowledge, and very thankful for that. So thank you, Andy. But obviously, Andy, being a great luthier that he is certainly delved into these things more so, and will probably research these things more so about I think I mentioned we were having an off-camera discussion about Chris earlier. How he's very much I look inside a guitar, and I what I'm interested is it original, yes or no, because I need to quickly catalog things and things like that. But Chris, because he's photographing things, he sometimes gets more time to see, well, why is it like that? So Andy has always imparted his knowledge on that side to me. And I know Andy and Chris talk a lot about this kind of thing. But I got to know Andy, and then obviously Andy started building his own guitars. I think you bought a Bayou down and a couple of other guitars to show me for my opinion, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. I think I bought half a dozen with a view to selling one to try and get some publicity.
So the first one I took out of the case was one of these. I think it had a maple neck, the one I saw, and obviously the colour straight away, I was like, oh my god, it's graffiti yellow. I think this is officially vandalism yellow off the can. And of course, the other selling point for me is I had a single pickup. If anything, it's got one too many knobs, but I'll forgive that. I never use a tone knob, but a lot of people do like rolling off tone, especially on single pickup guitars. I love it, Les Paul Juniors and things like that. So Andy showed me this Bayou model, and I was kind of like, this is absolutely incredible. Like, and I was massively blown away. You know, I didn't think, it wasn't like I didn't think Andy could do that. It was like, oh my God, you made this. This is amazing. And you know, it's a design. Of course, it's like a concept on, you know, other things, but it's a design. You know, it's its own design. Love the headstocks. I really like that futuristic headstock, and it's kind of like, you know, the two-tier almost, you know, drop down. Really smart with the binding. But yeah, I think so. We ended up putting that maple necked one in the auction, and then, you know, things progressed, and in the end, you know, Andy built one for me, and this is the one I had, and you know, I just love it. It's got a sort of, there's a slight V to the neck, which I really like, but it's still quite chunky. So it's almost the closest guitar this is to in my collection, apart from obviously the single pickup Tom DeLonge, is I've got a 50s Baja Telecaster, the Mexican made ones that were custom shop designed, had twisted telly pickups in. So in terms of feel, it's kind of similar with a slightly bigger neck, but this has got more of a V, so it brings it down from being so chunky. So it makes it really comfortable to play. The finish, the shellac, isn't it? You use
on the neck. It is. On the neck,
So that's really comfortable, because it's not. I can't stand glossy necks.
I'm always moaning to him about that. The amount of guitars I've got where as soon as I put my hand on it, I'm like, I'm not feeling this.
Yeah.
But when I, you know, felt that, and these other guitars with that coating on, it's like, yes.
Yeah.
And it looks great too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's
grain filled, and then it's shellac, but then most of it's rubbed off.
Yeah.
Quite often I'll buff them up then, so you've got, it's almost like the raw wood being buffed.
Yeah. Because it's mahogany, isn't it? Yeah, it's mahogany. Yeah, which, you know, I like mahogany necks anyway. But I think, you know, in terms of, I think I said earlier, you know, we were talking about tone woods, and you know how, you know, I like your last video. I don't necessarily look too much into that at all, but I think there's something definitely in hardware, because especially with this, I mean, what I would call this almost is a Telecaster on steroids.
Yeah.
And a lot of the steroids part is from the pickup, because it's a P90. So, you know, P90 is a single in some ways, but you can get a lot more out of them, more humbucking, a lot of grit out of them. So it works really well in the band I'm in, because we do rock covers, general rock covers. So if I need something really high output, I'll use this. If I need it to be toned down a bit but still have a lot of grit, it will be this. And these are the only two guitars I use now.
Fantastic.
Don't use anything else.
Wow.
In fact, so much so that I can't really use single coil guitars now. They just, you know, nothing works. And
wow, interesting. Yeah.
But you know, you've got this very telly type bridge as well, and I think what I find with this is, I guess with Telecasters, you do get that. I mean, a lot of it does come from the pickups, but you do get a lot of spank and twang, which I think does come from the bridge a lot. And I do find that this bridge does give that, and it's a bolt-on, which I think there might be something in that. I don't know, but I mean, I think hardware and pickups makes the biggest difference. It's mainly the pickup, but
yeah, because are these Sunbear pickups, Andy?
This one, that's a Monty's Leviathan, isn't it?
That's Monty's one,
The guitars have Sunbears in, but they generally have a Monty's in.
Yeah. But I mean, we had, I think when Andy bought that initial batch down for me to have a look at, we happened to have our YouTube demo guy, Jack. He was over here at the time where Andy had left some guitars with us, and he played. What was the model that he's got now?
He's got value the same as that, but I can't remember why I did it. I put two pickups in.
Hasn't he got a semi-hollow one? Was that not?
It's solid.
Oh, okay.
Solid body.
Yeah.
It's a surf green one, I think.
That's right. Yeah.
It's got two mini humbuckers in it.
So Jack was absolutely blown away as well.
Yeah.
And there was one of the thin line ones that you have that Jack really, I know he particularly liked that, but the one thing, when Jack got one of Andy's guitars, he said, I just can't play anything else now. It was his go-to guitar, and he plays session guitar for some fairly big artists. At the moment, he's doing stuff with a guy called Sawyer Hill, who's quite known now. I think he's just about to support Youngblood. But so they're doing quite well. But he, because of the band he's in, he actually has to use Fender gear, so he can't use an NCG guitar. But everything else, he just swears by them. But I'm hearing it more and more. Like everyone who acquires one of these, I mean, we've had a couple come through our auction. They've just raved about them. And Andy's work is great. So I encourage anyone to at least try one.
Yes.
I mean, Andy does it. You still do a lot of guitar shows, don't you, Andy? So
yeah, I've got 3 coming up towards in the autumn.
Yeah. So I'm
stuff ready for that.
Yeah, it's difficult for me because I'm obviously have to be not biased because being from Nottingham and all the other things, but I just wouldn't be interested if I didn't think they were great. And just going through each one, especially if you come down and visit the shop, you just try each one and it's got its own uniqueness.
Yeah.
And you think, I could just use, as soon as you're playing it, you're thinking, right, I could use this for this. This one would be great for this, or this setup. And it's just
this is
creativity.
the thing. This is the thing with guitars. Like, so I mean, I think so. One thing is, I mean, you often get the thing, well, how many guitars do you need? But I genuinely feel that there is a song in a guitar, and a new guitar, whether or not it sounds different or does actually play different, I'll sit down. I mean, what's the one thing I used to find is if I go away on holiday, so like my dad had to spend 3 years working out in Germany, so it was quite tough because my mum didn't drive, and but he had to go out there, so we went through this period of but it was great in some ways because in the summer holidays I got to spend 6 weeks out in Germany and in his apartment, and we get to explore around, and it was lovely being in the Black Forest and things. But when I was over there, I didn't have a guitar. Whenever I came back, I felt I could play better because I hadn't played for so long, and I was suddenly inspired because I was listening to stuff.
I think there is something in that, like not practicing sometimes. Like maybe you're doing sports and having that resting day. You need that day just to process if you're playing it all the time, that's fair enough. But sometimes you just need a day just to not play, for your brain just to make the connections.
Exactly.
And like I say, a few weeks, come back.
And when I was in originals bands, when I came back from holiday, I go through, like, when I was trying to write songs, you get writer's block and I can't write anything. Come back from holiday after 3 weeks, and I would just be able to write like an EP's worth of stuff just like in one day, like that. For me, a new guitar almost does that. If I pick up a new guitar and start tinkering around with it, I can usually come out with a song straight away. But if I was at home on my other guitars, I'd probably just play, maybe because it's like muscle memory or something, you just play the same old thing you're always playing. And so I think I think that's part of the reason why people do buy different guitars. I mean, obviously, we always want the next thing, and
great.
We're always chasing the next guitar and things like that. But
I was say, do you get a lot of handmade boutique, like independent luthier made guitars, or
we're seeing more and more? Because as the auctions are getting bigger and the awareness gets bigger, I mean, obviously we are globally known now, in a big way. But we are getting, we are seeing them, and Andy might build a guitar that goes to someone, and then that person might pass away, or wants to raise some funds, so it'll come through another channel anyway. I mean, that happened with the last buy we sold. Actually happened to be someone who'd bought one and then they passed away. It was in the last auction. We had another yellow one. But we are seeing boutique makers. I've had quite a lot of Crimson guitars.
Say Crimson, Crimson. Because would you say at the minute there's not a big of a number to have a separate auction for boutique guitars? It would all just be included in the general one.
I mean, I think if you did it, you'd probably have to do one a year, and it would have to be built up over time to make it. Cause I think to put an auction together, you'd probably have to have at least 30 to 50 guitars to make it worthwhile doing. But we do get them, and it's some of my favourite makers, Neil Iverson, who makes very good. I mean, he does his own. I think his most popular model is the Dakota, but he's very much Les Paul, Gibson inspired. But we've actually got one of his guitars in this cell, which is it's basically a 59 Junior copy. Fantastic instrument.
Yeah.
So yeah, Neil, I've got a lot of time for. Simon Law, who is, I guess his main job is he's Pete Townsend's guitar tech.
Nice.
But he makes guitars under the SVL name, and he makes Fender inspired instruments.
Okay, right, okay.
They're incredible instruments.
Yeah,
I've had a few of those come through the auction in the past.
Cool.
PJD guitars, they go to a lot of the shows. They do very bolt-on instruments, but in their own way, a bit like Andy. They're incredible quality, and actually they're very affordable as well.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of acoustic makers out there as well, you know. So yeah, there are a lot of boutique makers, but I love the whole boutique thing because they're usually made better.
Yes.
You know, if it's by
there are a lot of makers. They've all got so much talent.
Yeah, they really are.
Really good stuff.
And, you know, you come up with decent ideas. You know, it's not like one, you know, big brand company in the way they try and make sales straight away. Is they'll just make another Strat or another Telly or another 335 or a Les Paul because that's what people know.
Yeah.
And I do actually think the boutique guitar market is, because everything's kind of been done, and there are far too many guitars out there now. I think certainly Strat and Les Paul styles, there's more guitars than the world needs, really, and they're still being produced.
Yeah.
But I think people are now looking more towards the boutique makers because they are different. I mean, have a look, just look at Fender with their Paranormal series.
Yep.
You know, the weird and wacky designs. They had to do it because everyone was bored of Strats and Tellys.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I would encourage people to go boutique. It's worth it. The quality's there.
I agree.
And yeah, I mean, I think I wax lyrical about Andy's guitars a lot, but for good reason. You know?
Sure.
It's not just because it's not at all because I know Andy. It's like they are, for me, they're the perfect guitar for me. Single pickup. I mean, obviously, it doesn't just do single pickup guitars, but and yeah, I mean, all my bandmates always say, "God, that thing sounds incredible." You know, I always get good comments on it. So
brilliant. And not just people in Nottingham.
Not just
You've
people in
spread
Nottingham.
out. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's great, man. I think we'll end it on that. It's a great place to leave it. So thanks for your time today, Luke.
Yeah,
really
pleasure.
appreciate it, man. And everyone here at Guitar Auctions. And we'll get looking at our footage and see what we can sort. Is there anything you need to say that maybe you can't say on your normal channel?
I don't think so, really. You know, we're here to sell your guitars, and you know, we're a good platform for selling guitars.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't want to go down the eBay and Reverb route, favorable rates and things like that. And yeah, I think just keep buying guitars, keep guitar alive.
Amen. Thanks, Luke.